Christians do not follow the Bible. So, unapologetic Negropia. Get whatever story you finna come out with, and whatever you about to tell these people, I hope it's correct, my brother.
Now that was a gentleman by the name of Isaiah Ben Elsai. Now a few days ago I spoke to people and told people that I'd be doing a video on the Black Hebrew Israelites. And this guy had actually been a staunch critic of mine since the videos I was making about Art Cathy. So he was even more strongly against the videos that I was making about ES. Really didn't pay attention to what he was saying until I took a look at his name, Isaiah Ben Elsai. I thought, that name sounds, familiar. Now, I don't know anybody called Isaiah, but I know that there are a group of people who do have these types of names. And these are the people who we are going to be talking about today. Hello and welcome to another day in paradise, and welcome to another edition of the Unapologetic Negropian. In today's video, today we're going to talk about the Hebrew Israelites. Now, I know a lot of you guys might be thinking, okay, well, these guys are just a bunch of crackpots, and I would understand completely why you would say that, especially in modern times. But back in the days, they were a real force to be reckoned with. Now, there were rumors that ES was part of this organization way back when, in one of the West Coast chapters. I can see the reason why she as a person would have been attracted to this organization. So we're going to ask ourselves this question. We're going to ask ourselves if and why ES and her husband, who apparently was a vicious man, and this is what she said herself in one of her videos. He was a rather nasty, controlling, abusive man. Why they were attracted to this organization. As strange as they are, they still attract a following, a strong following, and they still have this relationship with the Hasidic Jews over there in Israel. And there are many organizations, including the FBI, that do take them serious. So we're going to take a look at why they do that. But first, I'm going to ask you to please like, subscribe, share, click the bell notification, and we're going to get on with it. The Black Hebrew Israelites. Who are they? Where did they come from? And what is their purpose? When I started to do the research about this organization and I saw their costumes, I just thought, well, that's a touch eccentric, isn't it? Once again, you have a lot of these extremist groups coming out of the United States of America. America is a place where a lot of these types of religions are being formulated, normally by people who are not totally straight in their own minds.
Black Hebrew Israelites are not the same as black Jews or Jews of color. Not all Black Hebrew Israelite organizations are anti-Semitic or extremists. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement is divided into organizations or sects that operate semi-independently across the United States. The Black Hebrew Israelites believe that they are the true Israelites and that the 12 tribes of Israel are people of color. Popular activities include street teachings and public speaking events.
Now, when I started to try and research the whole organization, it had a lot of difficulty simply because the organization is decentralized. There's no one person who sort of heads all these, the whole of the nation. What you have is you have chapters, and these chapters, some of them are more extreme than others, let's just say that. So what is their religion? Their religion is not Judaism, it's not Christianity, but a combination of both extreme forms of both Judaism and Christianity. Now, the Black Hebrew Israelites believe that they are the descendants of the ancient Israelites from back when the Bible was written. That's a strange one, really, because they don't see themselves as being purely Jews, if you know what I mean. They have amalgamated two religions into one, and they've made their own religion, okay, with their own Bible. Now, like I said before, I have no proof that ES was part of this organization. And what I'll try to answer is this. What would have made this organization an attractive proposition for so many African Americans? I think to answer this question, we have to go back perhaps to the late 80s, early 90s to find out what was happening, what was the climate at the time. So we probably already know the answer to this question, because, we're talking about America. And at that time, I don't think we've ever had a time in which the African Americans have had it easy in the United States. Oh no, in fact, it was quite the opposite. And you have to remember, at the time, people were still trying to overcome the scourge of the crack epidemic in the inner cities of the largest cities in the United States, inside these black neighborhoods. So many African Americans were still looking for structure, they were looking for strength, but many of them had turned their backs away from the mainstream Christian churches because, well, they were clued up. They knew that the pastors, the actual churches themselves, were all in it for themselves. This was when many people turned to the organization started by Yahweh ben Yahweh.
Yahweh ben Yahweh, or Hulon Mitchell Jr., was an American black leader who, in 1979, founded and led the Nation of Yahweh, a religious movement headquartered in Florida that had thousands of African American devotees at its peak. Yahweh was later indicted on 3 accounts of federal racketeering and extortion charges, to which he was found guilty.
Now, in the beginning, when Yahweh ben Yahweh started his chapter, the Nation of Yahweh, he didn't have much traction. A lot of people thought that he was crazy. This was the end of the 1970s, early 80s. But it didn't really start picking up until, like I said, after the crack epidemic. So in the late 80s, early 90s, many people started to see them as a real, serious contender to mainstream Christianity. Let's not forget about the police violence. Who did the African Americans have to turn to? They didn't have anybody who was seriously committed into protecting them, to protecting their neighborhoods, protecting themselves. And when I mean by protection, I don't mean, the Sean Kings of this world. I don't mean making Instagram posts and sending people to court. I mean real protection. Guys who are willing to sacrifice themselves within the blink of an eye for what they believe in. We will get a particular chapter of the Black Hebrew Israelites that will be synonymous with that, being absolutely ruthless. The name of that chapter is Yahweh.
The Death Angels. That was the name given by Yahweh ben Yahweh to his group of assassins. They would go out and kill anyone who would work against the Hebrew Israelites, including police officers and anybody who would want to leave. They were absolutely ruthless.
Now, after doing this research, I could start to understand why people started following them. This chapter of the BHI were extremely violent, and you would not mess with these people under any circumstances. My first indication that these guys were serious, right? It was when I read the story of Robert Rozier.
In the fall of 1986, a large contingent from the Nation of Yahweh showed up at a rundown apartment building the group had bought in Opa-locka, Florida. tenants claimed that the Yahwehs, armed with wooden staffs, began to forcibly evict them. Residents Anthony Brown and Rudolph Broussard publicly resisted, and that evening they were shot to death outside their apartment building. Police arrested former University of California at Berkeley football player and Yahweh follower Robert Rosier, who went by the name Nazira Israel, and charged him with the murders.
Now, this is another reason why I find it difficult to believe that ES and her husband just sort of, well, do you know what? We're going to leave this organization and go somewhere else. You don't just leave the Black Hebrew Israelites. Normally, when it comes to most of the chapters, there is only one way out, and that's in a box. The one thing you don't do is leave, and another thing, you must do what you are told by Yahweh ben Yahweh. If there's any dissent, if you look at him in a way that displeases him. These guys were also the original B1ers, okay? They were vehemently pro-black and rejected anything that had been made, anything that had been written, anything that had come from Eurocentrism. These guys were buying blocks, they were buying huge apartment buildings, and they were renovating them. They were building neighborhoods, okay? This is why they got a name, and this is also a reason why the good old American government wanted to take them out. The 1980s were probably the strongest point of the Yahweh organization. I mean, these guys were making hair products for black people, they were making skin products for black people. They had multiple businesses and industries that they were building inside these impoverished black communities. They did more in their short existence than what the whole Christian community did in their entire existence for these black communities. But as soon as the FBI caught wind and labeled them as an extremist organization, or a black extremist organization, they did everything in their power to take them out, including informants for intel and counter-intel. But it's only in later times that the Black Hebrew Israelites have started to turn more passive and more towards reconciliation and less towards their extremist activities. So what do you guys think? Do you think that the Black Hebrew Israelites are a serious organization? Are they something that we should be celebrating? Their achievements, well, their past achievements anyway. Let me know in the comments section below. It'd be really good to hear from you. So lastly, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. Thanks for listening. And I will see you tomorrow in the next one. Until then, think twice. Torah a bit.